Hey everyone, so today's class is going to be a recovery class that I have specifically designed for boxers. However, everyone can benefit from this, so if you don't happen to enjoy boxing like I do, that's okay. The class will still be super beneficial for you. We're going to need 2 yoga blocks for this one and a little bit of myofascial release towards the end. So you're going to need a myofascial release ball. I'm using this rad recovery round, but if you don't happen to have this particular ball, that's okay. You can grab a tennis ball or whatever you have on hand, and we're going to begin. So we're going to start on our backs, and once you get to your back, you're actually going to start with your legs crossed, just like I have them right here, and we're going to start with laying on our arms. So from the back side, it's just going to look like this. And you're just gonna do the best that you can there. So Sukhasana in the legs. Let's start with right leg in front of left. And go ahead and lay on down. Just take a moment to drop in, to feel what's going on in the legs and really just making sure that you're comfortable. And then cross the right arm behind the left and rest your head on your arms, on your hands, or whatever you can access here. So if we're really tight in the arms, then this might not be accessible just yet. So just find a comfortable starting position. And just start to relax into this. Begin to notice some of the tension that you might have started out with. See if you can relax the muscles around the eyes. Soften the jaw. Let the weight of the head be really heavy here, so trying not to hold on at all. Beginning to notice the cadence of the breath. And just begin to smooth that breath out. Letting the flow of the breath become effortless. Just completely relaxing here. Maybe starting to notice a shift in how you're feeling. Maybe noticing the thoughts as they come and go. Possibly noticing some release in the hips or the back, in the shoulders. And just starting to enjoy relaxing into this one. And following the breath from bottom to top. And following it back out from top to bottom. Noticing how the gentle rhythm of the breath is starting to relax the nervous system. Seeing Seeing if you can keep that breath as smooth and steady as it is as we switch sides. So beginning with the legs, just switch the legs so that now the left is in front of the right. And switching the arms so that the left is under the right. And just begin to settle in again. Letting the weight of the head continue to be heavy. Letting this feeling of ease begin to wash over the body. And again, just noticing along the way where you might be holding on, relaxing those shoulders. Maybe deepening the breath. Feeling that sense of calm, that relaxation. And it comes from really enhancing the way that we're breathing. Starting to step away from the sympathetic side of the nervous system and settle into the parasympathetic side, where we can repair and relax, restore. Take about 6 or 7 more full rounds of breath here. Slowly we'll begin to come out of this pose. So planting the soles of the feet on the floor, and just lifting the head up, letting the arms rest, and take a moment here to just notice any change, any effect. Maybe sense circulation, or even tingling. Slowly bring the knees in towards you and just gently rock side to side. And slowly begin to make your way all the way up. Coming all the way through into a table pose. And just take a moment to align the hands under the shoulders, the knees under the hips. And we'll take a few rounds of cat-cow here. As we exhale, we'll tuck the tail round the spine and drop the head. As you inhale, drop the belly, lift the gaze and relax the shoulders. And back and forth a few times, just like this. Next time you round the spine up, really tuck the tail, really press the floor away from you, and then sink the hips back towards the heels with this rounding in the spine so we get a nice stretch in the low back. And then inhale, come through to cow pose, drop the belly. Exhale, round the spine, sink the hips back towards the heels. Inhale, come forward. And one more time, round the spine. Sink the hips back towards the heels. Maybe linger here if that feels really good. And then come forward, back to top of a push-up. And now we're just gonna find some movement here between the shoulder blades. So just some very subtle scapular movement here. So press the hands into the floor. Don't move the lower half of the spine at all. Maybe even hug the navel in to support that. And push the floor away from you and just feel the shoulder blades move away from each other. And now as you inhale, soften the heart towards the mat, squeeze the shoulder blades towards each other. So just a little bit of protraction and retraction here. So we loosen up some of the tissue around the shoulder blades. And really, I know this one is barely detectable if you're watching it, but if you're doing it, you really feel as soon as we start to loosen up some of that tissue, the movement becomes just a little bit more obvious. Let's take just a few more rounds. Really subtle, no need to rush. Come back to neutral. And now let's take the left fingertips behind the base of the skull. And again, we're not going to move this lower half of the body at all. So the fingertips will come right behind the back of the head. Keep that low belly hugged in. And as you inhale, begin to open the heart. As you exhale, elbow to elbow. Really slow. Inhale, open the heart. Raise that left arm straight up in the air. Gaze in the direction of that left hand. And then thread the needle so the left arm comes all the way back behind the right. Come all the way down on your left temple if you can. And just kind of settle in here. Press the outer left arm and the delt into the mat and the floor. And you can keep your right hand on the floor for support. You're of course welcome to take your right hand behind you or even walk that right hand straight out in front of you. So doing whatever feels good to you here. And we're looking to stay in these poses long enough for the tissue to begin to adapt to the shape of the pose. So that we create some change in the body. And begin to repair and restore all those hard-working muscles. So settling in here. Really focusing on the breath. Maybe closing the eyes. Taking just 2 more breaths here. And then taking that right hand back under the right shoulder, push into the floor, swim that left arm up in the air, and as you exhale, just reset. And we'll do that same thing on the other side now, so bringing the right fingertips behind the base of the skull. As you inhale, begin to rotate up towards the ceiling. As you exhale, elbow taps elbow. Inhale, rotate up, take the right arm straight up in the air, gaze in the direction of that right hand. And then as you exhale, thread the needle. Right arm comes all the way back behind the left. And again, you can keep those left fingertips right where they're at. Perhaps wrap the arm behind you, or even take the arm straight out in front of you. Excuse me. And closing the eyes and just starting to settle in. You can enhance this one by pressing the right arm into the floor, or you can just simply relax into it without any effort. And starting to notice, for some of us, if our muscles are really tight, you actually might notice a little shaking here in the arm as it starts to release some of that tension. Let's take a few more breaths. And slide that left hand back under the shoulder as you inhale on line. Swing that right arm all the way back up. And as you exhale, bring the right hand back down. Good. Now from here, let's tuck the toes, lift the hips up and back for downward facing dog. And so the calves are another area of the body that get really tight and worked. If you happen to enjoy boxing or kickboxing, so this is a great pose to stretch them out. Let's inhale, rise to the tippy toes. Exhale, press both heels down towards the floor. If you can get your heels on the floor, see if you can lift up your toes. Inhale, rise to the toes, lift the heels. Exhale, drop the heels, potentially lifting the toes. You can just imagine the toes lifting and really feel that stretch from the heel all the way up through the Achilles and the calf, maybe even up the entire leg. Inhale, rise to the toes. Exhale, press the heels down. Last time. Good. And now drop the knees back down to the ground. And so here we're going to need at least one of our blocks. So get that block ready. Excuse me. We're going to be lying down flat on our bellies here in just a moment. And once you get there, you're going to be crossing your arms in front of you. So we'll be lying prone. Arms will be crisscrossed like this. And so let's go ahead and just lay down and get started with it. I'll walk you through it. So right down on your belly, we'll start in Sphinx pose. And the block is just there to catch your head should you want it. I'm going to be using it. You don't have to use it at all. So what we're going to do here first is, let's start with that left arm and thread the left arm back behind the right. And then we're going to take the right arm in front of the left. So we've got this X shape here with our arms, and you want to make sure it's above the chest and just kind of settle in there. So you can go, if you can go out further. If you need to come in closer together, do what works for you so that you feel something. And then decide whether or not you'd like to let the head hang, if you'd like to use a block underneath your forehead. And just find that position where you can maintain this, where you're feeling that sense of stretch in the rhomboids or just even right around the edges of the shoulder blades. And then just start to settle in again. Notice the breath. Maybe feeling the belly breathing on the floor. Feeling the body starting to relax a little bit more in this one now. Sensing that release in the shoulders. Just allowing the mind to wander without ruminating too long on any one thought. Just letting yourself relax here, settling in. And take a few more breaths here. See if you can sense any more release. See if you can completely relax into this one, letting the weight of the head be heavy, letting the arms be heavy, letting the weight of the upper torso just stretch that space between the shoulder blades. And then slowly lift the head, and we're just going to switch which arm is in front. So you can leave your right arm exactly where it's at if you want. Unwind the left arm, place it in front, and then just put the head right back down. And so you might have noticed even, actually this side might be a little tighter than the other, but you might have noticed that as the tissues begin to release some of their tension, that you can lower the block down a little bit lower, that you don't need it at all potentially, or maybe not. Just do what you can here. Maybe feeling just a little bit of discomfort. Maybe feeling that nice release. Just see if you can stay with it. Maybe focusing on that breath. Taking just a few more breaths here. Ready now, slowly lift up the head and just maneuver your way out of this one and lay down flat on your belly for just a moment, turning the head to one side or the other. Just take a moment to observe any change. And now staying on our belly, grab hold of your myofascial release ball and one block. So for this one, we're going to be placing the ball on the pecs. And so when you place this one, it's going to drop right down below the clavicle, and you want to be kind of above the breast tissue there. So find that spot on you. It's someplace that feels comfortable. You don't want to feel a tingling nerve sensation in this one, so make sure it's not more over closer to that brachial plexus area. And we're going to be lying down with the ball on the edge of the block. So for me, I like my block to be at an angle. It'll be the shortest possible way. And the ball will go right on the edge of the block. And then go ahead, again, right below the clavicle there, place the ball. And then we're doing this on the left side. And then bring that left arm to a 90-degree angle. Do the same with the right arm. And then just drop the weight of the head. So we want the weight of the upper body here to just apply pressure to that ball. If you need your second block underneath your head, if the floor is too far away from you, of course, you're welcome to grab that. Otherwise, just let it come all the way down. And let's take about 5 breaths here before we do anything else. the weight of the body be heavy, and just start to let the tissues adapt here. Might feel a little unusual with the body uneven like this, but see if you can just start to settle in. Also relaxing that right shoulder. Now, keeping everything as it is, lift just the left hand up off the floor. Now, if that's too much, go ahead and set it back down, but otherwise we're going to let that hand and the arm hover up off the floor. And then, see if you can begin to stretch that left arm forward, and then bend the elbow and bring it back. We'll just do this a few times. Let's do that one more time, really stretching that left arm as far forward as you can. And then bringing it back and letting the left arm relax back down on the mat. Let's take just one more breath. And then come off again, lay flat on your belly, turn your head the opposite direction. So your head is turned to the right, and just take a moment to notice any change between the left side and the right side. And so now let's even that out. Grab hold of your yoga block, take it however you like it. Again, I like it at an angle. So I'm going to take this at about a 45-degree angle, take my myofascial release ball and place it again just below the clavicle and on the edge of the block. And then settle in. Arms come to a 90-degree angle. We'll take about 5 breaths to just relax into this one. To start to adapt to the pressure. Let's take 2 more breaths here. And now if you're fine right where you're at, just go ahead and stay there. Otherwise, lift your right hand, your right forearm up. And then we're going to start to stretch the arm. So as we inhale, stretch the right arm forward. As you exhale, bend the elbow. We'll just do this a few times. Inhale, stretch the arm. Bend the elbow. And just one more time. And then relax the arm back down for a few breaths. And just one more breath here. And slowly release the ball and the block. Set it to the side. Lay flat down on your belly, turning your head now to the left. And again, noticing definitely a change on that right side, but a little more similarity between the sides now. And slowly press your way on up. So just one more pose left, and we're going to do that from our backs in just a moment. And I'm just going to show you what we're going to be doing with our arms while we're on our back. So we'll be taking a supine Gomukhasana. So that's our cow face, arms, and we're going to be taking the arms in this position once we lie down on our back. So let's go ahead and start on our left side. So I'll start with my back to you. Go ahead and start on your left side, propping your head up in your hand, and for now just having a little bit of a bend in your knees. And just start off with resting that right arm on your hip. Good. And now we're going to take our right arm straight up in the air, flip the palm around so that the palm is facing back behind you, and then slide that right hand maybe just to the small of your back. Notice how that feels. If that's a deep enough stretch, stay there. If you have more space, you can begin to walk that hand up the back any amount. So just take a moment to find that spot, and then we're going to roll over onto our backs. So if now that you've gotten here you realize that that's potentially a little bit too much, feel free to come out, adjust, do whatever you need to here. Find that spot where it's going to be comfortable-ish. And then lift your head, slide your left arm back behind you, and then bend your left elbow, maybe patting yourself on the upper back and giving yourself some place for the head to rest. The legs can be doing anything at all. If you want a little bit more hip work here, you can join the soles of the feet together, let the knees fall out wide. If you want the outer hips to get just a little bit of relief, walk the feet out as wide as the mat, let the knees knock in. And then close the eyes, relax into this. Let's take a good 10 breaths here. This is a really nice one for the shoulders. Notice if you've started to bring tension to the jaw, see if you can relax the muscles of the face. Let the weight of the head be heavy. Let the pace of the breath be even. Maybe just think about the shoulders relaxing a little bit more. The weight of the torso be heavy. Just one more breath. And we're going to come out of this one very carefully, rolling back onto your left side, propping your head back in your hand. And then for just a moment, unwind the right arm, let it rest on your hip. And then inhale, stretch that right arm all the way overhead and just allow it to relax for a moment there. And now let's get to the other side. So rocking over now onto your right side, propping your head up in your hand, placing a bend in your knees. And let's just again start with the arm resting on the hip. And that's just so we can kind of just get a starting point, a gauge of what's going on in that left shoulder right now. And then take the hand up, flip it back, and take the back of your left hand just to the small of your back to begin with. And if that's enough, again, right there, you can stay right there if you need to, or slowly start to walk that left hand up the back any amount. And then roll onto your back slowly, carefully. Adjusting if you need to. Taking a moment to relax into that. And then taking that right arm straight back behind you, lifting the head and relaxing the head on the arm. So again, just beginning to settle into this one, relaxing into this one, closing the eyes. Noticing the changes as they're happening in the body. Maybe the effort in this one is simply just staying with it. Noticing any difference from this side to the other. Again, letting the weight of the torso be heavy. Letting the head be heavy. Letting the breath be smooth and effortless. Relaxing the jaw. Softening the muscles around the eyes. Let's take just one more breath. And then again, really carefully start to come out of this one. Roll back onto that right side. Slowly release that left arm back to your left hip. And then slowly stretch the left arm all the way over your head. And just let it rest there for a minute, a moment. And then release the arm, and let's lie all the way down onto our backs. Let the arms rest a little bit wider than we normally would, so bringing them an inch or so out further, turning the head side to side, and taking just a short moment here for a nice Shavasana. Closing the eyes. Take a deep breath in through the nose. Exhale, let it go. Soaking up all of the change, all of the openness, and that relaxation. Gently move the body in whatever way feels good to you. When you're ready, bringing the knees in towards the chest, rocking again side to side. Softly making your way all the way back up to a seated position. And thank you so much for watching. I hope you feel a lot more recovered and restored. Enjoy the rest of your day. Namaste.